Hey, good morning, guys. You are live with Bubba Da Vinci, having our morning cup of coffee. Hope everybody's doing well. Um, I am here today feeling a little bit better. I don't know how much better, but um, it's I'm a Wookie. Yeah. Um, yeah. I spent yesterday contemplating the things that we talked about. Um, Morning, wifey. Uh, just having some general me time in between the meetings and more importantly, having a second conversation with the engineer and the contractors, and came to some conclusions yesterday. Being able to take the time to think things through and really wrap your head around everything that's going on. um, I think is important. I think we move at such a fast rate nowadays that I don't know honestly if we do ourselves a well, I believe we do ourselves a major disservice by not just taking a few minutes and thinking things through and thinking about the greater impact in life, um, and how it's going to affect us, how it's going to affect our friends, how it's going to affect our family, and yesterday I decided I needed to slow down. Not a lot. I could still, and when I say slow down, it doesn't mean I have to sit on the couch and turn on the TV or read a book and veg. Although all those things are great depending on how you need to mentally mentally pull back. Um, for me, it was, I took the dogs. I met with the contractor. He walked the property and looked at the building, and I made the engineer. I didn't make him. I paid the engineer to come back, um, and to walk it with the contractor, um, because I decided if I was going to do anything, I couldn't afford back and forth. Like if I miscommunicated some of the information, or whether intentionally or unintentionally, it would have been mostly unintentional, and and then it would have cost me more money or anything like that. And yeah, I've been trying to live more and more and more by the philosophy: measure twice, cut once. Um, and in my younger days, it was I didn't even measure. It was cut, 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 cut. And eventually, the right piece would fit. And that's definitely a very youthful, thought process. You don't worry about doing things the most efficient way. You just kind of do it. Um, and for some reason, as my family always tells me, I seem to both mentally and emotionally act like I'm still in my late teens, early 20s. Um, and I don't always think that's a bad thing. I think that's kind of gotten me to where I am today, which is, I keep that very youthful mindset, like anything can happen. I can do anything. And that works a lot of the time. But more and more and more, I realize that, time isn't my friend, and so I definitely need to pull back a little bit and like I said, measure twice and cut once. Um, so had the contractor come out, um, met with myself and the engineer. We went through everything, and then I was told that if I wanted to get this done, if the storm came in, which is predicted for tomorrow, and it looks like we have 5 days of rain, and the temperature is going to drop to the 40s. Um, I don't think we'll get anything below freezing. Um, but freak things happen. If the water gets into the foundation, even if it doesn't do damage, it'll be a week or two for it to dry out enough for them to do the thing. So if we were going to pull the trigger, we had to pull it yesterday, and he could get someone out here today. Um, So I'm going to talk about this story briefly, but kind of this is a segue to what I was going to talk about. And so I was going over. I told you yesterday, my daughter was having a tough time, and I was taking that into consideration. And I was kind of going. I got the price, and the price to do if we were going to do it, we needed to do it right, and it's going to be, 30,000 plus, taxes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. About $7,500 per side of the house to get every crack filled in with the fused concrete, and get that done. And at first I was kind of going back and forth on whether it was the best option for me, but then there was a story that was going around about Emily Gold. Emily Gold was a 17-year-old that was featured with her couple of teammates on America's Got Talent. Now, I have to say I don't watch a lot of shows and things like that. I kind of am addicted to things like America's Got Talent. I like, Britain's Got Talent, and I like The Voice. Right? I like seeing people who many, many years ago, prior to the internet being such a gateway to everything. Well, first of all, morning, Missing O, morning, Stormy. Just when I say a storm, there's all these, cells coming off the East Coast. When one gets pushed far enough over, we get 3, 4, 5 days of rain. Normally that would be a good thing. Right now, it's not a good thing for me because I've got a giant moat around my house dug out to get to the basement. So anyway, Emily Gold, they got to, I think, the semifinals, and she committed suicide. She's from out in California, Rancho Cucamonga, I think, and that is a real place, Rancho Cucamonga. And this girl she was a pretty girl on the cheerleading team from a decent family, just on America's Got Talent semifinals. They said that they had all this stuff going for you, and she commits suicide. Since COVID, during COVID, suicide rates were through the roof, and ever since the advent of Twitch and YouTube and things like that, suicides have been so much higher than they were prior to that sort of social media being out there. Teen suicide and just suicide in general has always been a bad thing, but your world, your perspective, the pressure that is put on you, was so much smaller. You had pressure in your hometown. You were having issues with your local friends. You felt like you were being cut off, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now these people, they stream, they are on TikTok, they do everything else, and they see their numbers go up and their numbers go down, and they feel like, they don't have any future ahead of them. And, between what's going on in the schools, whether it's bullying or just feeling like just having the social pressures of real life, and then multiply that by the social pressures that are online, and then you take that and multiply it again times, everybody feels like they have to get their 15 minutes of fame, and when they fail or it doesn't go successful, you have that as well. And so here's this 17-year-old young lady with the entire world in front of her, and she commits suicide. Now, not that and again, everybody always says the same thing, which is, every day I saw her with a smile, and she was always so cheery, and it was this and it was that, and she, no one ever expected it of her, and it's always the last person anybody would expect. And then so I'm hearing about this and kind of going through everything, and I started thinking about my daughter, who, I was, and this started popping up Tuesday around noonish, my time. Maybe 1, 2. So right after I did all that stuff, and so I sat down, grabbed myself another cup of coffee, as I often do, and decided, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and think this through. I started scrolling through a bunch of the news sites to kind of find out what was going on. And then I read this story and I'm like, my daughter was so distraught yesterday, or the day before, thinking that she was going to lose what she basically considers her childhood home. School's a little tough. Everything's tough. And here's the difference is I see it. I watched her break down at the pressure and then she told us everything that's going on. Unfortunately, this young lady, wasn't able to tell people in her life her pressures or what was going on. And I feel blessed that my daughters feel like they can come to talk to me, or they can talk to their mom, or they have each other that they can talk to. And at no time did she ever say, "Oh my God, I feel like, my world's over, my life's over," anything like that. But I could see the emotional trauma it was causing her. And so got on the phone, made the decision. I called the contractor and I said, "Done. Be here tomorrow morning and we'll get everything prepped and we'll be ready to go." Because as I said yesterday, I was really going back and forth about, if I spend this money, there's no guarantee that, what's going to come up next. It'll fix the current problem, but I don't know what the other problems are. And we're already into this house for, 200% more than we paid for the house. I will when we sell this place, or my daughter sells this place, she'll be selling it for the land. The house will never be factored in, because it's never you can't take the money that we've spent on it and factor it in the overall cost when you sell it, because we've spent more on it than it's worth. And if you ever give anybody that estimate, they're going to go, yeah, that's not worth it. So for us, for me, I'm really doing this for the family, to add a little bit of stability through the end of, till the other house is built, and to give my youngest daughter the stability, mental stability and emotional stability that she feels she needs in order to move forward. I want her to have a great future. It's like handing over an old watch. Maybe it's a great watch and everything else, but is it in style? Does it work properly? Would you be better off getting the person a new watch? But heirlooms don't always convert over the monetarily. Most of the time what you're passing on is a legacy or an emotional tie or something like that. Even if it just sits in your jewelry box, for some people it's important to have grandma's ring or grandpa's watch or things like that. And so, yeah, I'm spending that money primarily for that purpose. And so, today they will come and fuse everything back. I was talking with Trainer Club yesterday. We had a lot of work to get done. I had my meeting right afterwards. Yeah, sentiment, exactly. I did my meeting with my partner and kind of talked the business side through. I told you yesterday, I feel like I'm in the same situation on both fronts. We made some decisions on how we're going to move forward. I'm going to start talking to those companies and see what we can do to help them. And if we can't help them, or they don't want to take our path, that's okay. But we feel like we need to try to help. And kind of like this, it's going to be a big upfront cost and a lot of money out of my pocket or the company's, our pocket. I am the company. But in order to upfront these costs and do it. But if we're successful, hopefully it'll kind of be like the house, which is we'll build stronger relationships with these companies. B, we'll see them through. And by all working together, we'll be able to survive this economic situation and come out the other side better and stronger than we were before. And so on both fronts, I guess yesterday we pulled the trigger on both, pulled the trigger on the house and pulled the trigger on taking a really big chance with our company doing what we're going to do for the end of this year in 2025. It was kind of a great mental stress relief, because, when we talked yesterday, I was exhausted because of trying to make the decision, what was the best decision. Once the decisions were made, it's a different type of pressure, a pressure I handle better, which is now execution has to happen like today. So when I was talking, like kind of segued there a little bit, so I was on the phone with Trainer Club talking about, we got to get these videos done. We got to get this done, that done. And while I'm talking to them, I'm on a giant tractor because we had to dig out and get 7, 8, 9 trailerfuls of dirt, because when they seal this today, we have to get all this stuff backfilled and get all that stuff pushed in and get all the dirt there. And then we have to pound it down and then put more dirt on top of it. And so we get a level section all around the house before the rain hits tomorrow and the several days of rain. And then I had to run in and get an order gravel to put on top of that, which will probably not be delivered today, which is not good, but it's still, if we get the dirt pushed in. So all around that big hole, we've got mounds of dirt. I've got 4 or 5 people coming to help me with skid loaders. And like the second they finish it and they use the UV lights or whatever they do to get the stuff to set, and they give us the thumbs up that it's set, like everybody's going to be pushing dirt in that hole all at the same time. It's, it'll be like an Amish barn raising, where you get 150 people and you can get a barn up in a day because everybody's working on stuff and you just push it up and nail it together. And that's what you do. So I'm glad I have some good friends and we've got plenty of equipment, because we are going to have all this done and pushed back today. And then either while the rain stops or in the rain, I'm going to start trying to build the decks back around the property so we're not tracking mud in the house. Then I got to get grass seed thrown everywhere. And I mean, it's just like boom, 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 boom. But it's all like in 72 hours. I mean, it's like a 72-hour rush project, including, getting a deck up and a roof over the deck, basic framing. We just need to be able to get in and out of the house and not have everything running down the house. You have your house and now we don't have any roof or deck around it. And so if it rains, the rain will come off the roof and just go down and just be running right down the foundation, which caused problems to begin with. So anyway, so we're getting ready to get to the end of the house foundation living situation saga. I think by this weekend, we'll be in a good enough place where I can start concentrating on cutting 10 cord of wood and getting it there. So we are set for the winter. We'll start getting all the winterizing done while I'm working on the big project for the company. So feel like we're definitely moving forward. Excuse me. Okay. So also in the news, now going from what's going on personally to just crazy, there's 2 things. Everybody knows that another person attempted to assassinate President Trump. I was going to talk about this yesterday, but I was so tired and so depressed, when it was a little more live, and closer to the situation. And I, over the day, again, I'm thinking about this, the suicide of, Emily, looking at my daughters and like the pressure they're under to achieve and things like that, and how crazy the world is right now. And then I saw some updated information on the attempt on Trump. And I was like, what a crazy world we live in. I thought this the day it happened. It's like never in our history, has there been two attempts on the same president. And both attempts, the first attempt, actually a shot was fired and the ex-president was injured. And, and there was a big scuttlebutt and, blame game and everything else about that. But the question really becomes how anybody got within shooting distance of the president the first time. So then you turn around and you're a month, maybe 2 months later. I don't think it's that far. I think it's probably a month later. You just had a major shakeup in the Secret Service and and everything else. And then the president is golfing, and I don't know what verbiage you want to use. The ex-president. They still call him Mr. President because every president after they leave office is still termed president. Anyway, Donald Trump is golfing in Florida, and luckily the Secret Service this time, a Secret Service agent sees the barrel of a rifle coming out of a bush, and he opened fires on the person. The person leaves everything there, takes off, gets in a vehicle, takes off. Luckily, someone saw him running, identified the car he got into and everything else, and the local police department did a stop, and they detained him and got him. And we find out this guy was known for making statements. He was a Republican, is now a Democrat. He believes, what the Democrats are saying, which is, this is, the Constitution is in jeopardy if Donald Trump takes over. And he made an attempt on the president. My first thing is, I'm glad the Secret Service agent saw the barrel and fired. I don't know how anybody got within shooting range to begin with that they even had to worry about shooting. I mean, it's like this guy was there. He was planted. He had all his stuff. And after what just happened, the perimeter should have been so much bigger. I mean, it should be that, Harris and Trump shouldn't even have to be worried about anybody being able to get within shooting range. I mean, to be able to carry a weapon, set it up, have all your gear set up. I mean, I'm sure he had put everything there. Somebody said, "Oh, I would have this conversation yesterday." And I go, "Oh, they probably set it up day or days before, and that's how he was able to get up and walk out to it." The Secret Service's job is to do a hard target search 48 hours, 24 hours, and the day of arrival. If there was especially a weapon stashed anywhere within shooting range, they should have been able to find it. I've hosted at my restaurant two presidents, 11 presidential candidates, and many, 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 many Congress and senators. We own one of the oldest restaurants in the state. And so every time an election year happens, when they come into our county, they like coming to our restaurant because it has history and doing their speech either in front or inside our restaurant. So if you guys want to look it up, our restaurant's called the Northside Cafe. There's a movie called Bridges of Madison County with Clint Eastwood. That book was written in my restaurant, and it was filmed partially in our restaurant because our restaurant was the source. And so if you've ever seen that movie and all the restaurant scenes and everything else, that's my restaurant. And so this restaurant was built in 1876. We have the original counters. It's gone through lots of history. We've had videos shot there, music videos have been shot there. Lots of things have been shot in our restaurant, lots of movies. Or scenes, I should say, for movies. And we've had like I said, presidents and presidential candidates come there and do their meet and greets out there. Let me tell you, I have done, because of all this, every year the Secret Service comes and does a survey. Even though we have previous surveys, they come, they check the roof, they check the entrances, they check the exits, ingress and outgress. They check the buildings all around it, within shooting range. They have people on all the roofs. It's all like super duper detailed. Then you get in a stamp of approval. And then before they start coming out, things are sealed, things are controlled. And then the day of the event, your police presence and your Secret Service presence comes out and they walk it one more time and lock everything down. You have to, as a restaurant, we have to make sure that there's no places that weapons could have been hidden. We have to make sure everything's locked. It's a process. And I've been through that process multiple times. And the fact that someone's been able to bring a weapon within firing range twice on this presidential candidate / ex-president blows my mind. It just, I can't, knowing the rigmarole I went through, I can't, and we're not a rally. Rallies are supposed to be so much harder as far as the security elements and everything else compared to these little, what they call whistle stops. And I'm a whistle stop. As part of that, we go through a lot of security checks, including all your staff. I've had to keep staff at home because they've got past records and things like that. And they say, we don't want them in the building when XYZ is in the building. And so all those things come into play. And so that blows my mind. So again, it's just the day and age that we live in, that you could have 2 attempts in such a short period of time. And then, and the current director of the Secret Service, the one that replaced the past one who got fired for the screw ups, his comment was, it's probably time to completely reassess and rebuild the Secret Service from the ground up, especially on details like this, because it's become so much more difficult. I don't know what's become more difficult, but I definitely think it's time that they start figuring out what's wrong with the system, because we just can't have this. It's just crazy. So then later in the day, oh, I gotta take a sip for this one. This one I almost need alcohol. So if our world wasn't a crazy enough place, this is right out of a freaking Mission Impossible movie. So the Israelis allegedly, I say allegedly because they aren't saying anything and I believe they're still denying it, injured thousands of people in Lebanon, killed 9, injured thousands, and I can't remember what the official number is. But by blowing up, actually, I just see it right here. 170 were, 9 were killed, 170 people were critically injured, and 2,800 people were wounded when, get this, pagers, beep, 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 pagers belonging to members of the Iran-backed, one of the Hezbollah militant groups, exploded all at the same time. And at first I was like, okay, I thought about it and I said, okay, this is really clever. First of all, it's horrible. But my first thought was, what they must have done is the Mossad must have gone into Lebanon and planted explosives in an area that would be triggered when a large enough number of these militants were in the same area. So that is, those sorts of bombs are not are not used a lot, but they do exist. It's trigger, they're trigger bombs. And so you go in and you set you can do it in a watch, you can do it on a phone, you dial your phone number, and you can talk on your phone, talk on your phone, but the signal of the bomb is triggered by that signal coming within a perimeter. Boom, you die, right? No. Israel's Mossad actually somehow was able to get the pagers. This is all alleged. Nobody's confirmed anything, but it's the pagers themselves that blew up. These pagers were ordered from Taiwan and sent over there because they were programmed specifically for this militant group, and they wanted to make sure that it was on a secure network. Well, they were able to obtain these prior to them being shipped over and put the explosive devices in the pagers. And it was, and so they could trigger them whenever these people were together by apparently calling or doing whatever. And so the belief is it was a joint operation between the Mossad, which is the Israel's intelligence service, RCIA, and the Israeli military. But again, they will not confirm. They do not confirm or deny the entire thing. So I was just, I'm first I read the headline and it's like, Middle Eastern militants, killed with exploding pagers. And I started laughing and I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I start seeing it pop up all the time. And it's like, you gotta be, just kidding me. I get it, but there's such a problem, obviously, with the use of spyware and trackers on high-tech equipment that people are going low-tech in these military areas to avoid having the being able to be exploited. And then here a group comes and goes and finds a way to use the low tech against them as well in such an extravagant way. This is literally a Mission Impossible movie. The kind of things that is unheard of, and you wouldn't expect at all. So it used to be you had to worry about atomic bombs, missiles coming over your country and blowing up and knocking you back into the dark ages. Now, these wars are getting so vicious. 2,800 people injured, 170 critically, 9 dead with pagers. On the same, right after, and again, 2 people with rifles attempting to shoot the president. I don't know. The world's always crazy, but is it me or does it feel like we're living in a bad Netflix movie? I feel like this whole thing is being directed by some guy that just graduated from UCLA, and Netflix hired him to write a movie, and he kind of takes some. He goes, "I'm going to take things from 5 or 6 different types of films." And it's just a hodgepodge. It's like all over the place. And like I said, that one's definitely Mission Impossible. So I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. Are you guys? Maybe you guys don't even read the news. I don't know like if Australia's even getting this or Canada's even getting this. Stormy, I mean, have you, you know, like as a Canadian, as a Canuck, I don't think is Canuck all Canadians or is it a certain area of Canada? Um, I don't know. But is when a Canadian reads things like this, what is your mental thought process? And same thing for missing. It's like, when you're in Australia, and I don't see, and I could be completely wrong. I mean, both Canada and Australia seem like pretty passive countries. I don't know if you've uh wife, you said I used to read the news, but I stopped because it's so depressing and sad. And like you said, crazy or crazy. Yeah. But I have to, 'cause all this affects other things, right? It's like you have to kind of know what's going on in the world. It still turns my stomach. You know, you don't like, nobody likes war, nobody likes any of this stuff. And so many of these countries, like I said, like does Canada participate in these things? Sure. I used to, when I was back in my youth, when I was in the military, our unit would go up to Canada and train with the Canadian pararescue guys and Canadian special forces, the Canadian paratroopers. Those guys are pretty hardcore, and they get sent, to these countries. They have, Canada has has an embassy in Iran and Iraq and these different countries, and they have to be secured, and they have top-notch people that go over there and part of missions. Australians, super tough guys, are good beer drinkers too. Lousy hard alcohol drinkers, but really solid beer drinkers, and they like a good brawl, and they like to mix it up a little bit. I feel like, I feel like, wherever we are, the Aussies always back us. I don't feel like, I think like they do it because they have an obligation under a lot of the partnership agreements that we have, and they have with these other countries. But they're pretty hard. They're pretty hardcore people, but I don't know how they feel with news like this. Americans, we like to butt in, and we feel like we are the world's police, which is why a lot of people don't like us. In the U.S., you either love police officers or you think police officers have too much power and things like that, and you dislike them. And I kind of feel like we treat ourselves as the world police, and so we kind of live that exact same thing. Is that people either love us because we go over and help, or people go, why don't you just mind your own business? You make everything more difficult, and you definitely way overstep your bounds. So I don't even know if these kind of news stories show up in Australia or Canada. So I'm always interested to hear kind of the thought processes of my peers in those areas, because it's like, and I know our news, at least in America, and also I would say in the UK, news is about sensationalism, right? Where was I not that long ago? Oh, when we were in Japan. Over there, I would get their local news and everything else to read it. And, you can hit the translate button and you can translate it. Let's say it's 80% accurate. And the one thing I pointed out to my daughters is reading the news in Japan is so much more pleasant than reading it in the United States. Because even if there's something negative going on, they're almost apologetic that they're telling you that something negative is going on. It's the facts, and they try to downplay everything. Now, I don't know if that's better or worse, but here in the United States, whatever happens, everybody tries to sensationalize it, make it bigger and sound more, more dangerous or worse than it is, because that's how they get views. You can't just say, a person committed suicide. You have to, in your article, you have to say she was hit by multiple cars and here's what happened to the body. You have to sensationalize it because that's where you get your views. Over in Japan, they would say, you know, you know, we are sorry to inform you a young girl committed suicide, you know, you know, blah blah blah. Here's a couple of basic facts. We feel terrible for the family. They wouldn't go into a ton of detail. It would be almost be apologetic. And it was like, I said, this is the way America used to be. It was a fact-based system, not a, it wasn't meant to be sensationalized. And so again, I guess what I was trying to get to was, I'm not 100% sure what it looks like in Australia. Are you a sensationalized media, system, or same thing in Canada? I mean, it seems like most Canadians are so laid back. I can't imagine it's overly sensationalized, but I don't know. Maybe. Drop. Oh, I have no idea what that means. Missing. Competitive commercial interest. Good morning, E. So anyway, I guess to end all that massively crazy thought process and all those rabbit holes, that's probably the most elaborate attack probably since September 11th. Everything that, the planning and what happened on September 11th in the United States. Gotcha. So your big news is, koalas attack, or, kangaroo knocks out my brother, something like that. That would be, but see, that would almost be worth sensationalizing. But in order for a country to plan a deadly attack like that using pagers, I don't know. I think that this attack is going to have to go down in the record books as one of the most, well thought out and well executed pre-war attacks ever in history. It just, every time I read another angle of the story, because every time it pops up, I'm just like, I got to read this because I want so much more detail. Our National Security Agency, and our CIA and things like that, all our guys are scratching their heads. We have human intelligence operatives in that area. Like, no one had a whiff of this. No one even knew that this was even that this was even something they were looking at, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and now I'm reading another thing that just popped up right now that says pagers were made by a European distributor, which is oh wait, hold on. Okay, so it's a little bit of both. So the main parts are made in Taiwan. It's a Taiwanese company that makes the communication process. It's imported by Gold Apollo Pager, which is a European company, and then Gold Apollo creates the models and everything else. So it's a Hungarian-based company. And that Hungarian company has a contract. So 260,000 pagers have been shipped from Taiwan out over the last couple of years, and this is like a very, apparently this is a well used military, a pager by a lot of different military and government organizations. So anyway, it'll be interesting. So now everybody's on high alert because they don't know the number of pagers that may have been made into bombs. And yeah. Okay. Well, they I don't think there's probably many more, would be my guess. This is kind of a one and done. Once you do something like this and blow up someone's pager and kill a bunch of people, everybody's ripping open their pagers and looking to see if there's a triggering device inside there with explosives. So I don't think they have much to worry about. I think you're probably okay. All right. So a couple of house has been updated, giving you that information there. Company kind of updated. We're working on the company stuff. Gave you the 2 crazy news stories of the day. Today I'm going to open 2 packs of cards for Billy. Now what we're looking for specifically is this guy. Now, interestingly enough, I never realized on the inside of the box, if you opened it, they had all the art for the EX cards. So, they have them all inside there. So instead of trying to show that little one in the book, now I know when we have a target, we can just go ahead and open one box and then be able to show it. So that's what we're trying to get to. Billy's going to be releasing a video shortly. So when we just got back, when we did that Hawaiian event, we had met with PSA, and PSA just sent the card. So part of the thing was I went out and found a Lapras card, a Psyduck card, and I think it was a shiny Rayquaza card. I'm 90% sure. That were that I got. I just went at random, went and just selected these 3 cards. Was not sure what they're, they did not have a grading on them, and we sent those 3 cards. We videoed the process of actually submitting a card. A lot of people have never gone and done submitted it to PSA. It's not a hard process, but we thought it would be fun to go through. So we worked with PSA. We videoed at the event, going through, setting up an account, putting in the card information, how you look up to find what card you have, and then the actual submitting process, getting it packaged, putting it inside there, and then shipping it off. And they said it was going to be 3 to 5 weeks and that they would send us back the grading. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm sorry, I didn't see your comment earlier. The second thing we did is there are 3 main grading systems besides PSA. And what we decided to do is we purchased 2 cards that were done by the other services. And PSA is known to be the hardest of the grading companies. So there's the top 3, and and notoriously, if you take one from one of the other 2 companies and send it to PSA, sometimes, not all the time, but we'll say, I think the guy on the video said like 25% of the time, the card gets downgraded because PSA is just a lot more strict and is considered like the go-to place for rating all kinds of things. And so they have a much more robust grading system. So we said, okay. So we took, I believe it was 2 PSA 10s. It might have been a PSA 10 and a PSA 9, but for sake of argument, we'll say 2 PSA 10s, and sent those to PSA 2. And what they do is they actually crack the shells and put it through their evaluation process, and then sends you the card in a PSA casing with the PSA rating. So we wanted to see if the cards would be downgraded if we resent them and for reevaluation to PSA. So yesterday or the day before, because all my days are running into each other now, I got notified by PSA that the cards had been shipped, and Billy should have them, or I know he has them, and he was shooting a video yesterday on, I think the first video he's going to do is he's going to show the cards that I randomly picked. I out just from a show that were not graded. We'll see how I did, and we'll see how they got graded, what level they got graded at in from PSA. I'm super excited about it. Now, I'll let you know, when I picked the cards, I did go around and look and look and look and look at each card, and I was trying to find something I would have thought was a PSA 10. Now, since this was my first time doing it, I could be way off. I could have paid for a card and found out it's a PSA 3. So we don't know what these are going to come back at. And then this morning I woke up and PSA had notified me again that now just sending a regular card in is a faster process. Cracking a card and reevaluating it takes a little more time. So I just got notification from PSA again that they just started the process of cracking open our current card. And the reason they do that is in the notification, it said, we want to confirm that you want to have your currently evaluated card opened up and reevaluated by PSA. I said yes to the cards. And so that process should be starting. And then, so we should have those in about another week or two. So Billy's doing those 2 videos. But I think I told you when we first started talking about it, my goal is to find that Lapras in this deck and get a group of them and send a group of them to PSA, hoping to get a PSA 10 rating for Billy on this card. So that's going to be the daily thing. I'm doing 2. I was going to do a 1 a day, but I'm doing the second one, because I'm feeling pretty good about that whole PSA, getting the PSA cards back in. And I thought it would be fun to, hit one on this. Missing would be proud of me, because yesterday after I pulled the cards, I instantly put them in sleeves, just because, although I'm not going to be hardcore into collecting these, especially this series, I wanted to make sure that we at least preserved them. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and go through this real quick. Get rid of I have a question. Does anybody actually use these? There you go. It says redeem. I guess you get I don't know. You get with the code, you get a rand. I guess if I'm understanding it correctly. Oh, so you already said yes. I was throwing them away. I got chastised. Save me a million of them. Okay. I literally threw probably 50 of these things away. And okay. Wow, really? Because I just thought it was kind of an advertisement for the live thing. I didn't realize that the codes randomly assign you a card. And one of the local kids, he saw him, he was talking to me, and I said, yeah, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to open up 2 packs. And he said, oh, can I have your code card? And I said, I threw them all away. And he literally lost his shit. And he was like, how many? I said, I think 50. And he was just like, well, are you crazy? Blah, blah, blah. Online game this, online game that. And I was like, okay, I will save them from now on. But totally didn't realize these had any value and you could even resell them. So good to know. I will start making a stack and doing it. So, all right, let's do this. I need to get a new camera for this. Okay. Pontin. Grubin. Baroom, we had that one yesterday. I think we had most of these yesterday. Your phone. My favorite bunny. Oops. All right. A lot of these cards. I guess these are all commons, right? These are all cards. A lot of these cards I got yesterday. Not a big fast lumen. Okay, so here we go. So that one is a reverse holo. Boop. Then we've got Rapidash. Nice. That's not a bad card. And Grimmsnarl. And there's our energy card. So Grimmsnarl, it's not a bad looking card. Not the one we want, but okay. I always liked Rapidash. Rapidash is pretty cool. Okay. Toad is also pretty cool, but that's not what we're looking for. All right, come on, Billy. We need to get you your card. Pack is being stubborn, doesn't want to open. There we go. So I'm assuming all these cards, yeah, it looks like you can only redeem once, blah, blah, blah. All right. I feel bad that I tossed those. All right. Comfey, which we've already done. What is that? Turtle. Wooloo. Yeah, like I think we're Lilsula. I've never seen that card before. Okay. We got a Blair. Always like our trainers. So I think I'm going to make an electric deck here. Okay, so what do we got here? Rhydon. Rhydon's always, I love Rhydon as a Pokemon. Ooh, Reboot. Okay, now I have to say, A, that's a good looking card. And I got a hundo of him. So that's kind of cool. Da-da-da. Okay, so I've already got, oops, wrong one. I got this card. Somebody gave me this card the other day. They were opening a pack. I like Noctowl. And I think I like owls. Yeah, we have a lot of barn owls around here. Like like an American eagle. I feel like they're just like a really strong animal. And I was telling someone I like Noctowl, and they opened like one of those booster packs, or not a booster pack. This is a booster pack. One of those kits that automatically came with Noctowl. It was like the card was in the front of the window, and then you had your 3 packs inside there. I don't know what you call those kits, but and I was saying, "Oh my god, that's a good looking card," and he's like, it's not a great card, so here, you can have it. So I've actually got one. Where is it? It's right here somewhere. Oh, actually, it's not the same card. So this is the one he gave me. And this is the one we just drew. So that's cool. I didn't realize that it was 2 different cards. Is everything on it the same? So, all right, I need help from the peanut gallery here. Is this what you call alt art? Is it the same card? I mean, they're both. See, there's so many terms in here, and I don't understand them. So I'm going to go find Noctowl in the book. Okay, so the one that I got shows that it comes out in a kit, and the other one I'm not seeing in the book. Okay, so someone explain this to me. Wait, it's right there. There it is. All right, so there it is in the book. Now, above it, it has 2 colored squares. So according to this, it is a rare, and it comes in a standard set and a standard set foil. I have no idea what that means. Holy cap. So you have standard set foil, and parallel set. And then you have common and uncommon. And then you have rare, double rare, ultra rare, ace special rare, illustration rare, special illustration rare, and hyper rare. This is hyper confusing. And so if I'm reading this correctly, each card can have 2 or 3 different variations. Well, doesn't an EX card say EX? Like, okay, so there's the reboot. But I thought the EX cards actually said EX on them. Should we get Maddie on here? No, I'm just kidding. It's interesting. It's like the more I delve into this, the more I want to find a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old to help me. I need to have like a co-host. Does it not say a designation on the night owl? The original one. Stage 1 evolves to Hoot Hoot. I don't know. I've got to figure these out. Again, it's not. I don't necessarily. Yeah, he's at school. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I know. Maybe these kids, they're always at school. It's like I'm going to be that creepy old guy that hangs out at the local store, and instead of selling drugs or buying these kids beer, I'm going to be going, what kind of card is this? What kind of card is this? Yeah, because for them it works really easy. Yeah, it's just like they get it. Yeah, for me at 55 years old, I'm looking at this, and I'm sure any 13-year-old would probably look at this book and go, well, okay, all these things, this is what this means, and it's super easy. I mean, they're giving you a legend, and I'm like, okay. It's like when I gave my daughter a map for the first time. Yeah, I can read a map, no problem. We grew up with maps. She grew up with Google Maps on her phone. And so when I actually handed her a map, she's like, how do you read this? Like, well, here's the legend. This means this. This means, divided highway. This means this. And she's like, this is way too hard. Why would you ever try to do this? It's like way too many little details. And how do you read this? And I laughed and I was like, I don't know. I look at it and it's like, it's as plain as day. My map. Yeah, I'm the same way, opposite generation, opposite direction. I have no clue what this is saying. All right. Well, we opened up 2 decks again today. We didn't hit anything. I promise I'll start saving these and maybe we give them away on stream, or something like that. We'll figure that out. Going to be a good day today. These guys are showing up in about 45 minutes, and we're going to start filling that crack. We have got to beat that rain. So we'll get all that stuff worked out. I'll give you an update tomorrow on how everything went with the house, and we'll tell a couple more cards and talk a little bit more news and have a little bit more coffee. So thank you guys for joining. I'll talk with you guys all soon. I guess all I can say at this point is have a great day and be blessed. Talk to you later. Cheers.